like to do is I like to start off usually with something witty to build rapport, like Eric Coffin does, but I don't have any time. I know I'm going to be short, so I'm going to jump right into this. So Excelsior Mining is going to be the next new copper producer in the United States and one of the lowest cost producers, not just in the US, but in the entire world. And what makes this all possible is we're going to mine via in-situ recovery, which means we're not going to pump this, we're not going to dig the copper out of the ground. We're going to pump it out using injection and recovery boreholes, just like you see right here. So you may not be familiar with in-situ recovery. I'm not going to have time to go into all the details of or the benefits, but feel free to come by later and talk to me about it. But that's an injection well in the foreground. We're going to pump down dilute acid. It's going to move into the copper ore body. It's going to see the copper, dissolve the copper, gets pumped back up to the surface for standard processing. And because we can use that mining method, we expect to have some of the lowest cost operating costs across the entire industry. So what you need to know about in-situ recovery is, first of all, it works. It's a proven technology. It's been around for decades. It's used for a variety of metals. It's actually the preferred mining method. If you can mine your deposit via in-situ recovery, you will likely do so because the operating costs are lower and the environmental footprint is much smaller. Why are the costs lower? Because you're not moving heavy rocks. You don't see it very often for copper because you need a very specific geology, almost a unique geology in order to mine it this way. We've only seen this kind of geology in Arizona. There have been a couple of projects which have been mined out in the past. Today, there are only two big ones left, two big copper deposits that are being developed as in-situ recovery projects. We've got the biggest. You see it here, 4.5 billion pounds in the reserve today. All the technical work is done on this project. The feasibility is done. We are about to cross the finish line on the permitting. We just need one more permit to get into production. In addition to low operating costs, the capital costs here are also very low. You see the number, $50 million US. It's low for three reasons. One, this is a staged operation. We start off at 25 million pounds and we ramp up to 125 million pounds. Secondly, the area is blessed with infrastructure, road, rail, power, water. It's all there, ready to go. And most importantly, we already have our processing facility. The SX-EW plant is already on site, ready to go. We expect to be pulling copper out of the ground before year end. Again, because of in-situ recovery, this story is all about great economics. You see the NPV there, $800 million. That's at 275 copper. At today's copper price, our NPV is around $1 billion. And this is important. I know I'm talking fast, so I'll highlight this point because it's probably the most important point of the presentation. Today, Excelsior Mining trades at $200 million US, so we're trading at about 1/5 of our NPV, and we expect to close that gap over the next few months as we complete on some really big milestones. That's the value argument for owning Excelsior Mining. All of these numbers are industry leading, all revolving around the really low operating costs you see there of $1.23 a pound. Mining, I think Eric just said it, it's all about margin. It's a margin game. Excelsior gets to enjoy the big margins when the copper price is higher, and when the copper price is lower, this is the key to our risk management. The copper price can collapse, fall below $2 a pound operating costs. We're still in business. Our competitors are out of business. So what I want to talk about today is promises. So you can go to PDAC tomorrow, and the P in PDAC, by the way, stands for promise. You can go there and you can visit maybe 1,000 companies. I don't know how many there are. It's the biggest mining show in the world, but the reality is that with a lot of those companies, there's not really much mining going on, but there's a lot of promises going around. There's going to be a lot of promises here today. If you followed Excelsior Mining for any length of time, you know that we're very good at doing what we say we're going to do. So what have we promised and what have we delivered on? Well, from the get-go, we said we're going to put this into production. So what do? We've invested over $50 million into all the technical work that's been required. We did all the hydrology, metallurgy, the resource upgrade. All that put together to create our feasibility study, which in terms of technical excellence and quality of data is as good as any you're going to ever find within the junior mining space. We told everybody we're going to get our state permit within a 2-year window. Everybody said, no, there's no chance of that. It's a mining project. It's going to get delayed. It's going to get delayed, and then after that, it's going to be delayed. Well, we countered and said, well, our project doesn't have any of the standard issues which normally slow up projects during the permitting process. We don't have any endangered species. We don't have anybody living nearby. There's no native burial sites. Still, there was lots of skepticism, but we were successful. We completed the state permit is now completely done, well within 2 years. We told everybody that we're going to keep the CapEx low. What did we do? We bought Johnson Camp. That's Johnson Camp right there on the screen. It sits right beside our project. We bought this for $8.4 million. We got it out of receivership. It was going bankrupt. It saves on our CapEx at least $50 to $60 million. So it was like a gift. This will serve as the initial processing facility, and it's in immaculate condition. And we've always said that we're shareholders too, so we want to keep the capital structure intact. To date, we've raised over $100 million in this company, and there's only 200 million shares out. There's no warrants, and we've got $30 million in the bank. So we've done a really good job at keeping the capital structure intact, and we're going to continue to do that. So if you make a lot of promises and you break them all the time, then your promises really aren't worth very much. But if you actually do what you say you're going to do, that's your track record, then your promises become something else. They become catalysts. So these are the catalysts going forward for this year. The big one is we're going to complete on the permitting process, which means getting our EPA federal permit. This is the big one. This is the one everyone's waiting for. I'm sure there are shareholders in this room, and I'm sure this is all you'd like me to talk about. We received the draft permit in October. This past week, actually just a few days ago, the public comment period ended on the EPA permit. We expect to see this permit sometime late April, early May. That's the target today. And again, this is about as big a milestone as we've ever had within the company. Most within the U.S., very few mining companies ever even attempt to navigate the EPA federal permitting process, let alone successfully complete it. So even though we as a management group are completely convinced, we're absolutely confident we're going to get this permit. Eric Coffin here, absolutely confident we're going to get this permit. Still, we think it's going to come as a major shock to the market when we bring in this permit. At the same time, we're going to complete the financing on the CapEx. Again, it's not a big number, $50 million. We'd like to do as much of that as possible with debt. We think we'll be successful there as well. Then we'll jump into construction. It's a very quick build because you're largely only building the well field. It's like a 6-month build. And then we like to see copper coming out of the ground before year end. So those are the milestones for the year. Again, they're very significant. These are our promises. And these are the guys that are making these promises. You might see them. You might run into them this coming week in Toronto. So Stephen Twyrold, Roland Goodgame, they both have big mining company backgrounds. We run Excelsior Mining as if it was a big mining company. These gentlemen have put mines into production in the past. Stephen ran the entire gold business for Western Mining, which became BHP. They have genuine operations experience, and that's really important because that's reflected in our data. And on the strength of our data and the strength of this management team and the quality of our project as a whole, we have been able to attract some significant investors, and I'll just mention one. Greenstone Resources is a private equity firm out of London. They're very technical. They've invested over $52 million into Excelsior in 4 tranches. They did so after doing very significant due diligence programs. And and by the way, they are the definition of smart money. They're ex-Xstrata Mining executives, and a combination of that with ex-JP Morgan mining investment bankers. And their continued investment into Excelsior Mining is a major endorsement of the project. Now, I know I'm short of time, so I'm just going to direct your attention here to the stock chart. So that's a 2-year chart. And what I thought it would be neat was I just added a dot which indicated where our stock was when we were here last. So we spoke at this conference last year. We spoke here the year before that. And what this chart represents and reflects is a company that's doing what it says it's going to do. We're keeping our promises. And as we hit our milestones, we're being rewarded in the market. And the biggest milestones are just ahead of us. We're looking to be fully financed, fully permitted, and into the construction phase, all within the first half of this year. And again, we're already into March. Those are as big, those would be the biggest milestones of the company's history. And I am nearly out of time, so I will say that, ladies and gentlemen, I have just told you a very remarkable story, and I hope that you will come visit me at my booth. You know, when they closed the doors here, you're all nice and cozy inside here, but what they do out there for us is they shut the heat off, they shut the lights off. So we're always very happy whenever any of you will come over and talk to us at our booth. So I hope you'll come by and say hello and want to hear more about Excelsior Mining. Thank you.